Hey guys, I'm here again today and I wanted to share a video. I wanted to make a video about my top 10 photo tips for beginners because I know there's a lot of different tips and tricks out there that y'all can use, especially if you research them. But these top 10 of mine are stuff that I've dealt with whenever I first started. So I thought today would be a great day to get to share my experiences with y'all and to show kind of why I picked these why I picked these top 10 tips, because I've personally gone through similar situations before. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start. So tip number 1 is always have your camera equipment together in one space. This tip is really important no matter what you're doing in photography, because I've been in sessions before where I forgot something, and it's really frustrating when you have everything prepared and you forget one itty bitty thing. So it's always really important that you keep all of your camera and all your equipment stuff together in one place and you know where it's at. I suggest usually getting a really good camera bag. It doesn't have to be anything too expensive, but as long as you have something to keep all of your stuff in place, that would be massively beneficial to you. I've had situations before where I forgot a lens or I forgot a lens cap, and I have to, keep my camera from not getting scratched or anything because I forgot that minor little thing. But it's always really important that you keep those things together. So you don't have to worry about it in the future, and it just saves you a lot of time in the future as well. Make sure your lighting is always good. Now, lighting can be very difficult, especially if you're doing studio work like me. So, in this studio, I have, good lord, I probably got about I got 4 or 5 lights all on me, and they're all really hot. But that's okay, because I want the lighting in here to be great so the video looks like this. But the same goes for photography. It doesn't matter if it's a videography or photography, the lighting has to be on point at all times for it to look good. Depending on what you're doing is when light can vary. So if you're outside and if you're outdoors, I suggest waiting till either early morning or afternoon to take their sessions, because you do not want to take it during midday, because that's when the sun and everything's going to be right overhead and the lighting is just going to be terrible. So I suggest usually scheduling it, usually in the winter, like if it's winter time, I would schedule it around either 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and then once the summer months come back, probably around anywhere from 3 till 5 p.m. In the afternoon, because that's when we get the golden hour effect, and that's when the lighting is just perfect and your pictures will come out clear, they'll come out beautiful, your subject will be really golden and just enhanced, and it will be amazing. So that's why I always discourage doing any sessions during like midday or even anywhere around noon, because the lighting is just gonna be really terrible, and it's really hard to get really good photos when the lighting is in that position as well. So just please make sure your lighting is always good, and if you have any questions or anything, you can just DM me and I'll let y'all know, and I can answer those questions about lighting. But usually it's really simple, but lighting can be very tricky at times. Tip number 3 is, when working with clients, always make sure they're comfortable with you. This is a massive tip that I go by. I don't know if a lot of other photographers go by this, but it's really good to have, because it doesn't really matter what session they're doing. I always make sure first priority that my customers are comfortable with me, because photography is a lot different than other services or any other things that you have to deal with in the consumer and economic side of things. Because when you're a photographer and a client comes to you, you're going to be spending time with them, a lot of time with them. I could schedule, I could even be in talks with them for over a month, talking about the session details and what they're wanting and how we're going to plan it out, and just all those different details that make this session great. So it's really, really important for me that I build up that foundation with my customers, and that I build up trust for them to trust me and just be comfortable with me when the day of the shoot comes. I did have a couple customers that I really didn't get to know that well. And when it did come time to shoot, it was okay, but you could tell that they were still nervous and just really not kind of at their best. So that's why it's always important that you are comfortable with your clients, because once they're comfortable, you can get really, really good shots. You could even get some candid shots that are really raw and just meaningful, and your session will turn out 110% better. So it's always just important to build a foundation with your clients and just get to know them a little bit more, so you can have that trust and have them be comfortable with you. Tip number 4 is be careful when editing. Now, editing is very complex because you can do a million different things with editing. You could make a picture look really, really good, or you could edit it and make it look really bad. So my advice is I usually don't edit that much on my pictures. My pictures usually come out really, really good anyway. So if I do edit my pictures, I just do little basic editing. And unless the client, wants something a little bit more advanced, if they want their teeth whitened or if they want blemish remover or stuff like that, even then it's really easy. But when you edit, be sure to not damage the original photo. Because if you edit too much, then the original photo is gonna look completely different than the edited version. And sometimes it's not always the best, because clients are gonna want the more raw, realistic looking photos depending on what they want. But my word of advice is just bump up the exposure a little bit. Usually you wanna kind of dabble with the brightness, exposure. You might want to dabble with some filters, but don't go overboard, and kind of just make it look realistic as possible and just enhance the features that you want to enhance. But that's probably my advice for editing, because you really don't want to do something and have it turn out bad. But editing is really, really fun. You just got to be careful with it. Alright, tip number 5 is use simple backgrounds. Now, photography is, depending on what you do, it's really with photography, what I do is if I'm taking family portraits, or if it's more portrait lenient, then I'll go with backdrops like this, or nature backdrops, or trees, or grass, or really simple stuff. If you're shooting a model, or if you're shooting a family, or even a wedding, stuff like that, really simple backdrops for any normal kind of photography. The only other difference with kind of backgrounds is if you do art, kind of like more artsy photography, depending on what your client wants. So, like, if I had a client that wanted a more artsy photo, I could probably take pictures of them with a really scattered brain background with a lot of patterns and stripes and different stuff. But it all just depends on what your client wants. So really with backgrounds, I just keep it simple, and simple usually turns out the best. So 9 times out of 10, you're just going to want to keep it really simple, really plain, and really beautiful. Tip number 6 is to make sure your clients wear simple one-color shirts and avoid patterns or stripes. So again, this kind of correlates with the background. Tip number 8 is invest in a good camera bag. So usually camera bags really are not that expensive. You don't have to go out and buy $1 million camera bag. And usually the camera bags that come with your camera are great. But what I did was I went to TJ Maxx and I bought this little camera bag right here. It's really nice. I love it. It has plenty of space for all of my stuff. I keep lenses, I keep cords, I keep battery packs in here. This little bag is really chic and I love it, and it has plenty of pockets. So I bought this for like 25 bucks from TJ Maxx. So you could definitely get a really nice bag for cheap. So you don't have to have a really big expensive bag for camera bags, but as long as you have one that you love and you can just keep everything in it, that would be great. It's a really good thing to have. Alright, tip number 9 is always keep always keep spare charged batteries with you. That's a really big one because I know it can be an issue. Usually if you only have one battery and you didn't know that you know how life is. Sometimes you forget that you have to charge your battery, or you forgot to even charge it for the day of the shoot, and then you show up and it's dead. So to prevent that from happening, if you just have either 1 or 2 more extra spare batteries that are charged, you can just pop them in and go. So you don't have to worry about, oh, is this camera charged, is this one charged, If you just charge all of your batteries and just keep them charged and put them in your bags and just have them, then that will save you a lot less strain and time. Alright, and lastly, tip number 10 is just to remember to have fun. Photography is so much fun, and just have fun with it. Just be relaxed, go with the flow, and just feel the vibes, just go with it. Usually people want to be perfectionists about it and stuff, but the best pictures turn out when you're not looking. Just the candid, raw photos. So just have fun with it and take pictures and do what you love. I love all of y'all, and I thank you so much for allowing me to have this platform. Go like and subscribe on this video below and my other video that I did yesterday. Also, be sure to check out my social medias, and my businesses are linked down below as well as my website. Love y'all. Bye.